We hunt for treasure, stacking them in piles. Hustling hard, making deals all day. Flipping finds, turning profit our way. Pure Hustle Podcast guides our quest. Learning tricks to be the best. On eBay we make our name. Reselling dreams, winning the game. Pure Hustle Podcast guides our quest. Learning tricks to be the best. On eBay we make our name. Reselling dreams, winning the game.
Hey everyone, welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. Normally I would start with Mike and this is Orlando, but right now it's just starting with me. Mike is kind of having some internet issues, but we're going to start. This is episode 455 and this is an update episode. And I believe my co-host has joined me now. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I mean, man, this is crazy. My internet, my internet's been terrible. I actually just bought Starlink. I just don't have all the stuff to set it up. I'm waiting for a pole mount to come. Because it's been dropping out like consistently for like the last month. Just it's terrible. And then right now my computer's doing something weird too. It's just like when it rains, it pours. But man, we've got to get these episodes out because we care about Pure Hustle Podcast and getting this out. So for those of you who are watching and are like, you know, it's weird. Mike's on the other side of the screen. Every time I drop off, I have to add myself, and it adds me to that side of the screen. And so I'm not going to keep switching it. So it is what it is. But man, I'm excited to be back for another update episode. It's been a while.
Yeah, and it's still crazy to me. 455 episodes. We want to let you guys know we always plan on dropping an episode every week. So if you are new to us and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, hit that bell notification, and smash that like button. So yeah, were you asking me what's going on with me? Was that your question?
Yeah, man. What's going on with you?
Okay. Oh, there's a lot going on with me. You know, it's interesting because it's summer, and I do feel like the summer is like slowly moving. Not meaning that my sales are slow, meaning that, you know, it's still like mid-June, and you know how it is. Like end of July, you're like, what happened to summer, right? And right now, I'm trying to do everything I can to kind of build up my eBay. Now, obviously, I'm in this administrative role at a school, and that's consumed a lot of my time. But I still, you know, every day I got packages I need to get out. Every day I need items to be able to source and be able to list. And so it's been really good. I tell people all the time, like, keep reselling part of what you do. Like always have that tool because you never know when it's something that you will need, right? You may sometimes go, you know, I don't want to do that much. That's okay. Like just list like maybe a few items, you know, a week. Maybe aim for 5 a day, because I'm telling you, there's going to be those moments where you're going to be like, oh, I wish I continued, because eBay likes activity, right? And so the moment you disappear from eBay, eBay begins to disappear from your sales. And so you want to be able to be continually consistent. And so there's been a lot going on. One of the best parts of this last 2 weeks, you know, and I'll talk about my store and I'll talk about selling here. No, Secondhand Solo, shout out Secondhand Solo saying, am I the only one watching? No, there are plenty watching right now, but I do appreciate you getting here on the feed of the comments. Thank you. I hope you've been doing some sourcing in San Diego. So, I've been traveling, and I don't know if I shared this story. I did share the story in the podcast. So last year I went to a head of school, like administrators conference, and somebody randomly came up to me and they're like, hey, Orlando, I thought I would never see you at this event. And I was like, I have no idea who you are. And they're like, oh no, I run a school, but I also do reselling and I listen to your podcast. And I was like, what? That's crazy. And I remember I felt such validation, right? Because up until maybe I would say a few years ago, like being a reseller was kind of like this cringe thing, right? This thing that people didn't really talk about, right? It was kind of like, oh, I go to thrift stores, I go to garage sales, I do all these different things. And so now it's like, wait, there's people that like have real like good jobs and like they still resell. And so I met with this guy again, and I met with somebody who works like this like overarching organization. and he resells too, and his son resells with him. And I'm at this whole like school thing, but we're all talking about reselling. We're talking about our latest finds, and we're talking about eBay. And I'm like, this is so surreal to me. It was really impressive. So I'm just looking at this and going, reselling has finally been validated, but it's still weird because you will talk to people. Like I've shared with you on the podcast, like I had somebody recently who was really interested in reselling and actually went sourcing with me. And the other day I asked them like, hey, what'd you do with that item that we sourced? They're like, oh, I gave it to my friend. I'm like, what? Like you basically gave away like $50, right? And you know, again, reselling is easy, but it does require some hustle, right? It requires some dedication to do. And so that was pretty cool. I want to talk to some other people on the chat here that are saying, hey, what's going on? Items from the South, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Zeke, thanks for, what up, fellas? Rolando looking slim and the face looking good. I appreciate that. For Zeke, I've been working here.
Yeah,
trying to get back to that,
man.
I've been working on it, trying to get back to that 2020 build. Remember that? Remember when we were like dedicated and I mean, you've always been dedicated, Mike, but I was disciplined back in 20. Oh, look at those guns. Okay. If you're listening to the podcast, you're like, what is going on? Mike just flexed for us a little bit here. So
That's right. It's you can flex on us reselling wise. I that's all I got. All I got are the guns there. You know, it is what it is.
But it was such an awesome conversation to have. It was so cool because one of the top administrators, his son does reselling with him, and I was talking to his son who's in college, and he's like, Orlando, like this is amazing. Like, could you give me any tips? And I gave him some tips, and he was telling me about how he's paid off his car, how he's paying for his college, you know, how he has all this extra money now. And I'm like, that is what reselling is about, right? That's why we do the podcast. Like, we want to help as many people out there to be able to go, you know what, I can do this. I can make this happen. This is why we're always big about documenting. Like Mike and I have, you know, over 400 episodes. We started with like barely having, like, I didn't even have like a closet full of stuff, to having a whole massive storage unit, right? And now my entire garage is all reselling. And so listen, this is doable. This can bring you extra income. So that's been kind of cool. My sales have been continued. They haven't died. I've been doing a lot of end and sell similar lately. It's baseball season, so all those bobbleheads that I sourced a while ago, all those baseball pins, like they're selling now. So it's been great. But I do got to be careful. So I'm almost to losing my top rated seller because I was not dropping stuff off at the post office same day. I still have same day set as my drop off, and I've been telling the next day. And eBay is actually getting even better about tracking stuff. You used to be able to get away with just printing the label and just dropping it off the next day, but now eBay is tracking that. So I'll be okay.
So are you going to change your handling time to next day?
I mean,
because if you got other things going on, you know what I mean? Like I don't think same day versus next day is going to make a huge impact on. I feel like losing top rated seller would have a major negative impact. I feel like you might see like a couple % drop tops yearly on switching from same day to next day.
No, you're right. And I probably need to do that. I just, you know, I love the advantage.
I mean, what happens when you're like at work and then something unexpected comes up and now you're stuck, you know, and yeah, I think next day is probably the best for you on that.
The podcast continues with Mike being the voice of reason, me being like, I can do everything, like I can make it happen. And you know, sometimes you can. Yeah, I probably need to change that pretty soon. Let's see what's today. So I got one more day until they reevaluate. I should be okay. Like I don't see there being a problem, but I would always say if you ever get to that place, always communicate with eBay, because I've had people tell me that like, hey, I barely like missed the threshold. Like I was 0.0 something % away. And if you contact eBay and you're like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, they'll fix it. They'll fix it for you. Like they'll help you out, right? And especially if you've been reselling for a while.
You got Secondhand Solo here calling you out. Says they're watching you, Orlando. eBay knows you've been printing those labels a day early. They know.
You know.
They know.
You know, it's very possible. Very possible. So.
Which,
so yeah,
honestly, even as a customer, like customers know too. I mean, maybe not all of them, but like if someone's really tracking, they're like, oh, they printed the label, but then it's like waiting for a carrier, and then like it's a while, and that like if they check a few times that day and it still says like waiting for the carrier to receive it, I think that would probably make a customer more upset than just, hey, it's next day, you know.
I don't think people know though. Like here's one quick story, and then I want to hear how you're doing. So I had sold a buckle, and they wanted this buckle by Wednesday, right? So by yesterday, and they bought it on Friday, and I was like, I'll make sure to get it out. And things happened, and I didn't get it out on Saturday. And then the tracking, the eBay said it's going to be delivered on Friday, but the post office was saying it's going to be delivered on Wednesday. And they were kind of flipping out. They're like, hey, I need this buckle, I'm going to a rodeo, it needs to get here by Wednesday. And I'm like, hey, eBay has their timeline, but the post office has their timeline. And I said, just trust the post. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, trust the post office, but honestly, the post office 90 something percent of the time, they're right on. Like, your stuff does get delivered on time. And so, I'm looking now, and sure enough, it got delivered at 2:55 p.m. to Long Beach on Wednesday, right? Yesterday, it made it on time. So, but I think people that are resellers for real, like, they know, right? They know all the games. They know when you cancel an item and you put, buyer chose to cancel. They know those things, because I've been called out on the podcast for that. But you know, I think you bring a lot of perspective in saying, hey, you should change your handling time, because the people that our resellers are aware. Like, if you say you're going to ship it that day, you should ship it that day. So you gotta be a person of your word. So, all right, Mike, what's going on with you? So, Mike, I can't catch your audio right now. So you may not be coming
I'm muted.
through.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, there
Can
you
hear
go.
me now? All right.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm muting myself because we're recording and actually going live here a little bit earlier than we normally do. So my kids are still awake. So occasionally you might hear some screaming in the background. I've got 3 banshees that are they tear up the house. But anyways, I just got back from a 3-week vacation. Got back late last night. And so it is good to be home. We recorded a couple of episodes early. It's kind of funny. We actually got called out in the comments about our summer slowdown episodes kind of
I saw
being
that.
the exact same as every year. And there's probably some truth to that because, we have changed a lot over the years. We've changed a lot of what we kind of think about reselling and ways we resell, things we resell. But some things really haven't changed perspective wise. I mean, every year you kind of feel like there's no such thing as summer slowdown. And I'm like, well, there kind of is, it does slow down a little bit, but it probably depends on what you're selling. And there's only so much you can say about that, but it's a thing that comes up every year. So, we got to talk about it at least once a year, do our annual, hey, here's the summer slowdown. But it was kind of funny. One person even said that, we were kind of wearing the same shirts. And for the most part, you and I just typically wear black shirts. I intentionally wore a blue shirt today. So that way, it looks like I'm not wearing the exact same shirt every single time. Same episode. We record them all, but we're live. You know what I mean? That's how they know this is happening now. But anyways, yeah, so I put my store on the away time, like, extended handling. And I only had 1 sale the entire time, which is kind of a little bit disheartening for me for a 3-week time period. And part of it was I'd kind of slowed down what I was doing ahead of time. I wasn't listing quite as much. I kind of slowed my store down because I didn't want to come home to 40 or 50 sales. But hold on one second. Can you hear the screaming in the background?
Yeah, but it's all right. Hey, listen, right. We document. Okay, we document.
Let me turn my mic down just a little bit. Try and make it so you can only hear me here. But yeah, so it was a little bit disheartening to only have the 1 sale during that time away. It definitely hurt my goal of increasing my eBay store numbers 10% every month after month. And so what I kind of have to look at, I've got 6 more weeks of summer left. And so for the next 6 weeks, I'm just going to have to kind of go full tilt. You know what I mean? It's a full send. It's like, I'm just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, kind of got called out on a previous episode, saying, like, summer isn't the best time for garage sales. And I was talking about, for me, being out in Central Texas where the humidity's picking up, the heat is picking up, and someone's like, that's the best time for garage sales. So again, everybody has to realize everything we say is going to be dependent. Like, I could say, hey, this is a good Bolo, and people are like, you can never find that here in our area. And it's like, well, I mean, you kind of got to know your area, you got to know your market, you got to know all of those things. So I'm going to have to kind of lean a little bit more into estate sales and some thrift stores over the summer. But I think in the 6 weeks, I still have a little bit of death pile that I can kind of pound through. In fact, I was eyeing my shelf full of VCRs, and I'm like, this is it. They're all getting listed in the next 2 weeks. I'm gonna list every VCR DVD combo recorder that I have, all the DVRs that I have. I have a bunch of like security camera, like recording equipment, everything I don't want to list is getting listed, right? Because if I can't do garage sales the way I like to, the least I can do is start getting those sales coming in. So I'm gonna have to pick up this next 6 weeks in order to kind of catch up for what I lost being gone for 3 weeks. But overall, my end goal is to have my house paid off in 5 years, and I'm on track for that. So even with this slowdown, a hiccup in 1 month does not impact the total end goal of getting my house paid off in the 5-year time frame. And a big part of that is reselling. If it wasn't for reselling, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I'm, at this point, it's full send mode. We're going. Who's gonna carry the boats? They don't know me. They don't know me, Orlando.
It's speaking of that, I don't want to. I've been seeing other like people on TikTok that are trying to be like Goggins. Like there's this like 40-year-old tia that's like, no, get it, llorar, don't cry, and like, dude, it's hilarious, bro. Like, anyways, that's a side topic, but yeah, you got to get a little bit of Goggins here every once in a while. So there's times that Goggins annoys me, and there's times that Goggins motivates me. So you got to catch me at the right time. So hey, before we move on, I do want to talk about my Reseller Genie. If you're stressed about your taxes, or you're like, hey, I don't know how to track my profit and loss, check out my Reseller Genie. You can use our code Pure Hustle. It is software for resellers by resellers. It tracks all your eBay stuff, imports all of it, imports all your Poshmark stuff, and you get 15% off the first month by using our code Pure Hustle. So check out my Reseller Genie. Again, use our code Pure Hustle, get 15% off the first month. And by the way, all of you in the chat, if you ever have any questions, things you want to talk about, this is part of why we love doing the live. We love interacting with you guys. We love talking with you guys. So let us know what's going on. Hey, so random stories here. Okay. I gotta tell you, I feel like I was kind of extorted. But I had to like fall in line. So I ended up having an item that I didn't have in stock. And the guy was like, hey, I really need this. My internet keeps going down. And I was like, what? Like, okay, but what aren't there other people? And he's like, hey, I know I appreciate the refund, but like I need, can you find another one for me and send it to me? And I'm like, sure, I'll see if I can find it. And remember, I have a lot of stuff that is still stored in my garage. Like I have not organized my eBay inventory yet. I know that sounds terrible. Like I've been here for, I don't know, 3-4 months already. I'm slowly getting there. And I told the guy, like, I'll get it to you in 3 or 4 days, right? I'll see if I can find it. 3 or 4 days pass. I'm too busy. Haven't had time to look. I said, hey, listen, I can't find it. I'm sorry. And he's like, well, I really need this because my internet's going to be down. And I'm so concerned about getting this like negative feedback, right? So I'm like, all right, well, how about I give you $10 on top of the return. And then he started asking for more money. He's like, well, the return was this, but it's going to cost me this. And then I need the $10. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of in a catch-22. And this is why people need to be careful. Like when you're out of stock, like it's a bad thing. Like you will get dinged no matter what, right? You just got to be careful about it. People don't like what we suggest, but I always suggest that you contact the buyer and you tell them, hey, for a reason, I don't have this item. Would you like to cancel this? And then when they say, yes, please cancel, then you can click on buyer canceled order, right? You're good. Some people don't do that. Some people just get upset and they're like, where is this item? Blah, 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 blah. Well, that was this person. So in the end, I ended up PayPaling them $10 on top of the refund. But for me, spending that $10 was worth it. Instead of putting my store at risk with the defect or some negative feedback. Does that make sense? All right. So Mike, I'm kind of not hearing you again, but so I always tend to want to do that because again, always go the extra mile with your customer service because you want to make sure that, you do have like this thing, you want to protect yourself. Right. You don't want to be taken advantage of, but in the end, you got to think about like when you make these choices, you're not just making choices to appease that certain buyer. You're making choices that it's going to keep your store right with great feedback. It's going to keep your defect rate down. It's going to continue to help your store because you don't want any hits that's going to help your algorithm. All right, Kevin over here says, I am drowning in death piles. Send prayers. LOL. And you know what?
Hey, I mean, it's a bad problem having death piles because that's potential money that you're not gaining. But it's a good problem because it means you have inventory. The worst thing would be if you have
Yeah,
no
true,
death
true.
piles and you also aren't able to source, right? So, having a death pile, I don't recommend it. It's not like, hey, I'm just going to build up a death pile as like a reserve. But having a death pile means you got potential. You got potential cash, right? So
Potential.
you gotta actualize it.
There you go. That's a nice way of rationalizing it. But he's right. Like Mike is right. I mean, I have totes full of stuff that I haven't listed. And if like, do you remember that era that we couldn't leave our houses? Like during that time, I remember when the full lockdown happened, and I remember being so grateful that I had death piles galore because all I did was list. Now, I'm not saying like that's the only reason you should have death files, but you never know. There might be a time that you get injured and you can't go sourcing. There may be a time that, for a reason your car breaks down and you can't go sourcing. Like it's always good to have just a little bit extra because you never know. Some people might disagree, but I think that's important. All right, you have any random stories, Mike?
Yeah, so I got back last night, but I was like, you know what? I was not able to do sourcing while I was on my vacation. The main reason, well, there's two reasons. One, I had a ton of stuff I was doing things with family, so it was hard to spend time sourcing. And the other issue was our car. We have a Honda Pilot. I know you know how big and roomy those are, but we
Mm-hmm.
also had three kids packed for 3 weeks, and so every square inch of that car was just already jam full of luggage and bags and kids stuffies and blankets and all that. So I was like, I need to do some sourcing. I gotta have something to talk about on the podcast. So I got back and I went to the thrift store that I talked about where they have the free.
So we'll hear the rest of it when Mike returns. Going to talk about was the idea of printers. Okay, so right now I've been trying to find a couple printers that I need, and I got to tell you, like when people charge an obscene amount for printers, like it really causes me not to want to buy. And so be careful with what you're charging, especially like Mike had talked about before. Like people are going to figure out what's being charged. People are going to figure out, like you're trying to make money on shipping. Because for me, as I was looking at these printers, people were charging like 30, 40 bucks, 50 bucks. I'm like, no, like, especially like if you're in the same state or you're on the same side of the country, like, unless it's something crazy that weighs like over 50 pounds, you're not going to be paying that much for shipping. And so I always tell people, like, some people like to charge more for shipping, but you really got to be careful. And I still haven't bought a printer because even though I'm getting sent offers and they're good offers, like to me, it's not worth it to me. So be aware of what you're charging for shipping to make sure that it costs right. All right, back to Mike and the rest of the story here.
All right, so I don't know where I left off there, but anyways, so I went to the book section and I didn't even bring a cart because I was like, I might grab a couple of books. I don't need a whole shopping cart. And I see it looked like maybe a school or something had closed down and donated a bunch of books and curriculums because they had all these textbooks and various things like that. And I know for the most part, especially older textbooks, there's just not money in them because companies come out with new textbook versions so often. But they did have these like big binder type things. And there was a 12 volume set of I'm assuming it's written and made in Spanish, learning how to speak English, right? Because the title was Ingles in something Bueros, I don't know. So I see these and I'm like, all right, let me check them on eBay. I look up comps and the full 12 volume set, which all 12 volumes were there, was selling for like $300 used. And so I'm like, holy smokes, from
Wow.
free to $300. So I'm like, I cannot hold all these. So I'm like, I've got to run back and get a cart. And I'm like eyeing everybody that's over there. And I'm thinking, did anybody see me looking these up? Does anybody know like do they see me interested in them? And so I'm running to the front to get a cart. I get that cart back to that part of the store as quick as I can. And as soon as I get back there, I start looking through them and I make it through, like I'm putting them in one volume at a time. I'm checking them. I'm opening them. I'm looking, okay, it's got the CDs. It's got the books. It's got the workbook. Good. Okay. Grab the next volume. And I got up to like volume 7 and then one of them was missing the CD. Volume 7's missing the CD. And I'm like, okay, let me just check the rest of them because maybe like the CD's in one of the other ones. And then another one was missing a workbook. And I'm like, oh. And all of the sold comps is like all 12 volumes. Like there was no sold comps of just like piecemeal of this stuff. It was like the whole 12 volume set. And so I'm like, I'm not going to be trying to pick these up and sell them out piecemeal, you know, especially when there's no comps of them selling like that. And so it was just that like that roller coaster ride of, oh, let's see, maybe there's a couple books I can pick up to like, oh my gosh, I've got $300 for free sitting in front of me to, man, I've got nothing. Right? Like,
Yeah.
It was missing one CD, one CD and one workbook out of a 12 volume set. I'm like, it was so close. I was like this close. So it is what it is. It is what it is.
Well, you can always buy them, right? Like you can always figure it out. You know, what's funny is like there's these like Inglés sin barreras, I think it was. Like it used to be on the Spanish channel, and it was like,
yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. But like you look at those and you think there's not money in them, but there is. It's like crazy. That's a bolo. Like that itself is like the bolo of the episode because a lot of people miss those. Man, that was when I was a kid. Those commercials ran all the time on the Spanish channel.
Really?
And even to 100%, dude, like all
the
time.
It was like the Hooked on Phonics, but like on the
Yes.
Spanish channel. Because I feel like there was always commercials of like teach your kid to read on Hooked on Phonics. There's always Hooked on Phonics infomercials and stuff.
No,
or like Rosetta Stone infomercials.
No, aprender inglés con Inglés sin barreras. And like, like I remember that commercial so many times. It was so good.
What does that mean? What does it stand for?
Okay, there you go.
What's the English translation?
English without barriers.
Ah, gotcha.
So you're learning English without barriers. So it's really good. Let in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Let us know. Put up a thumbs up or something. All right. Hey, so it's time. We got to talk about some reseller topics here, Mike.
All right. Let me see if I can play the sound effect. Hopefully, I don't cut out while it's playing, because I don't know if you know how to stop it. All right. Let me hit it.
Okay. Well, that'd be interesting.
eBay is lobbying for tariff exemption on goods. I left Bonanza. Poshmark still an issue. eBay live traveling and live shopping and the reality. All this and more on Reseller News. Rolando, take it away.
All right. So it's interesting because there's so much going on in the world right now, and I don't want to talk about all this stuff going on in the world, but this tariffs is still a thing. And, you know, I've always said like tariffs are a benefit to resellers because what it does is we're able to sell goods for cheaper, right? Because we're first domestically here. Second, it's used goods. And now I really like what I see here is eBay. And then there's also another company, Investor Collective. They're actually, I'm going to read part of the story here. It says U.S. tariffs introduced under former President Trump now apply to all imports. What? Why does it say former President Trump? That's weird. Okay. And now apply. Isn't it current President Trump? I'm not sure why the news article says that. Now apply to all imports from China, including used goods, and have scrapped the previous $800 de minimis duty-free threshold. This means secondhand items like designer handbags or vintage cameras bought internationally now face duties. Buyers often discover these extra costs only upon delivery. One shopper paid a $142 tariff on an $800 used Chanel bag from Japan. So what's happening now is that both, it says here, online resale platforms, eBay, Investor Collective, and sustainability groups like American Circular Textiles are lobbying Congress and administration for a tariff exemption on used goods. They are arguing that tariffs on secondhand items discourage reuse, harm circular economy goals, and don't protect U.S. manufacturing, especially when dealing with niche, discontinued, or vintage products. I'm like, here, this is again another reason that I believe if these things continue, right, if we end up with tariffs, like we're going to be okay, right? Because we're going to be able to provide goods. And the whole Temu market, the whole TikTok shop, remember like those fake pit vipers that you could order, like that's all gone. Yeah. Right now, people are going to buy authentic goods.
Yep. Speaking of which, I got a pair of real pit vipers finally.
Oh, you did? Good for you. Yeah. You're moving on up. Paying off your house, getting some real pit vipers.
Real pit vipers. That's right.
Things are moving. So
I'll have to wear them on our 4th of July episode because it's they're the firecrackers, so they're like red, white, and blue. It's pretty sweet.
There you go. I wonder how pit vipers look on me. I would look so out of place with pit vipers. It would be funny. So, but you know, I know it's a controversial topic, and I'm sure we're gonna get people here in the comments saying this and that. I'm not trying to get political about it. I'm just telling you, hey, here's the reality of it, right? People are having to order stuff from outside of the US with these tariffs. It's going to cost money. And so people are going to start looking inwardly for things. And it's, in the end, it's going to help people international. Like I still get international sales and it still works out for me and it's still good. And again, if you're new and you're just listening, please do not sleep on international shipping. It's really easy with eBay. Make sure you are set up there. All right, next item I want to talk about here was Bonanza. So two companies I'm done with. Let's start with Bonanza. So Bonanza started doing this promoted listings thing, and if you had I forget how many items it was, like if you had over 700 items or something in your store, that it was just going to start charging like this flat $20-something fee every month. Now you would think, great, like if I have several sales, $20 to pay Bonanza, not a big deal. Those of you that are new, if you're wondering what Bonanza is another reselling platform, and it's really easy. You can import all your eBay listings onto Bonanza, and it used to be free. Like you didn't have to pay anything except fees when it sold, like on eBay. Well, now Bonanza started getting on the promotion train, like with everybody else, and they said, "Hey, if you have this amount, like we're gonna charge you to promote." And so I hit that threshold. I thought I canceled. Like I thought I did not sign into promoted listings on Bonanza. So this might help a lot of people, but I found out that I did because I saw charges on my credit card, $20-something for Bonanza. And I looked at it, I'm like, why do I owe this? And I looked and they charged me for the promoted listing. So I tried to get a refund. I haven't heard back yet. I might end up doing a chargeback. But I ended up just closing my Bonanza store because I think it's obnoxious. Like I have had zero sales in Bonanza. Zero sales since they started that. So to me, it is not worth this. Let us know in the chat what your experience is. Are you still finding Bonanza is worth it to you? But for me, it's just not worth it. It was worth it when it was free because you'd get, especially during Q4, you get these nice sales. But overall, I have not gotten those nice sales. All right. Next platform, Poshmark. Poshmark, they have not changed their delisting policy. So in case you're wondering, if you have items, okay, wait, I want to hear what Secondhand Solo has to say here. He says, I bought a fake pair of Pit Vipers at garage sale. The guy told me they were real, paid $1. I bought them for the shelf. LOL. Well, there you go,
That's how you know it wasn't real. No one's selling a pair of real Pit Vipers for $1. Even used.
I learned that lesson when I bought 2 Supreme t-shirts at a garage sale for $5 that were worth like 300 a piece. Yeah, they weren't real.
Come on, man. You got to know that.
You know what? I'm not like one of those streetwear kind of guys, so I didn't know. I thought they looked legit to me. So that was the early days of reselling. The early days. They even had the plastic bag, the Supreme plastic bag. Like, why would you have the bag if they were fake? Unless somebody sold them with the fake bags. I don't know. That's just
I mean, a lot of the knockoff stuff, they do come with like legitimate looking packaging sometimes. You unless you really know what you're looking for, you definitely got to be careful with that stuff.
I guess so.
And honestly, like a lot of times the fakes are made like probably at the same plants or near the same plants, probably a lot of times at similar quality as they're being made and sold, but it's not authentic, so.
I don't know. I just, and the reality is, I always say this, like, unless it's obnoxiously fake, chances are no one really knows, right? No one really knows. Especially, it's funny because I always tell people this all the time. If you get accused of selling something fake, right, don't automatically go like, oh, it's fake. Just go, hey, you're welcome to return it. Because the reality is sometimes, like, there's no way to know. It's just somebody has an opinion about something and they think something's off. And then you go do research and you find out, oh, yeah, there were some of these that were made this way. Right? Or the biggest fakes are like the bootleg. But there's a difference between bootleg and counterfeit, right? Bootleg is somebody took an item from the 80s and 90s, they adapted it, they made it like its own, but it wasn't approved by the company. So that's bootleg. Counterfeit is where they mass produce things that are fake. There's two different things. So be aware that because bootleg stuff does sell on eBay all the time. All right. Next, Poshmark. So Poshmark is still suspending sellers. Still. I don't know if it's been 3 months, 4 months. So they instituted this policy. If you delist items that are less than 60 days old and you relist them, they will suspend you. And they say excessive, but they've never given like a number of what that is. And so there's all these resellers getting suspended. And I got to tell you, Poshmark, if you're listening, you are being ignorant right now. Like, you are not hearing your resellers on social media saying, what is going on? Like, why is this policy in place? Number two is like, what maliciousness is happening with this? Right. And to me, it's enough I still have stuff on Poshmark. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not doing the end until summer. I'm not going to deal with it. But if it was my main go to, I'd reconsider. I would jump to eBay. No, eBay's not paying me, but I'm doing a ton of end until summer. I do it every day on eBay. Not a problem. eBay likes to make money. eBay likes to have sales, and so they're not punishing me for doing it. Thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is a little bit off from what you were saying, but I for a long time, I do believe a lot of companies have come in and taken vertical slices of the pie of what
Yeah.
eBay potentially had, right? I don't think any company is doing eBay the way eBay does eBay, right? But a lot of companies have come in and kind of, here's my market. Like they're taking part of like the trading cards, they're taking part of like women's wear, they're taking part of, various things, maybe automotive. Like they're going to take little slivers of what eBay is. But I do think I'm kind of being a little bit more convinced that eBay might be the monolith that is going to keep going, even though I think that they need to adapt with the times. They need to improve a lot of their features. They need to find a way to connect with Gen Z. I think they probably are a household name with like Gen X and millennials and older, but I think they're struggling a little bit with capturing that Gen Z market. However, I can't remember what the term is, but I recently heard this idea that if you were to, the example is if a study was done, if you showed people 4 boxes, 3 of them were blue, 1 of them was red, and you told them, okay, pick a box. Most people pick the red box, right? Just because like, oh, that must be the one. Okay, they pick that box. And that same thing is true for like a lot of things, right? Like that's true for something like cryptocurrency or like just currency in general, gold or like the dollar. Like people like they as a whole, like collective group of people decide like this is the one thing. And it doesn't matter why that was decided, but like if that's the one thing, that's the one thing, right? And so any other cryptocurrency can come out and they're fun, they're meme coins, whatever. But like everybody's kind of decided like it's Bitcoin, right? Like you could talk to a stranger on the street and you're like, hey, do you know about cryptocurrency? They're going to automatically think Bitcoin. And I think the same thing is true when it comes to reselling with eBay. And so I feel like for companies like Poshmark, where they shine is they're coming in and they're innovating in like a small section, but they're gonna think eBay for broad reselling or broad like I'm buying collectibles as opposed to all these other sites. And I think these other sites are still taking vertical slices of the pie of eBay. But yeah, I mean, something like Poshmark making a decision like this, I have to believe there's a reason. Like I have to believe that there's a reason like in their system. Maybe it's like really hard on their system for people to do this. Maybe they are using a ton of bandwidth by ending items and reposting them. Maybe they're trying to, like, one of the ways Amazon really got big is they were like it was all about the logistics and the analytics. Like they were able to track what was selling, what was not selling, get customer information, sell that customer information. What types of ads should we put on what types of shows based off what people are buying? Like that's where they made their money. That's how they were able to grow. And so I think Poshmark, maybe it's like this is messing up their system, like how they're hoping to make money or like how they're tracking items and like what categories are selling when people are pulling items up. And there has to be a reason that they're punishing people for delisting items and then, kind of doing the sell similar or relisting those same items. Because I can't imagine they would do this without a reason, especially with all this pushback. So I don't know. Maybe they need to be more transparent about why. Maybe this is too hard on their servers. But when they're already trying to compete with a company like eBay, and if that's kind of becoming a standard operating procedure on eBay for resellers to do, they're going to have to follow suit. Or I don't know. It just seems like a strange. There has to be a reason. Like, why else would they?
Yeah, I know,
make
but
that a bannable offense?
they haven't been clear. Like that's the problem. Is that and they're suspending. Like there's like people with lots of following on social media and on YouTube that are getting hurt by this. And it just doesn't make sense. Zeke here says I delisted all my items on Poshmark and Mercari. Poshmark because of the policy. All my focus is on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and OfferUp. The latter two have sustained me through the summer slowdown.
Yeah,
and there you go.
I've done much better on local deals recently than I have even on eBay for sure.
Yeah, and we don't talk too much about local deals, but if it works for you, you definitely should be doing local deals. Thanks for sharing that. All right, so this next one, I'm gonna start with a little rant. Okay, we're gonna talk about eBay Live. I'm still not understanding why regular resellers do not have the ability to do eBay Live. Like it's been like 2 years since they announced this. I remember Craigslist Hunter had a whole video about, eBay contacted him and told him we're going to be doing eBay Live. I remember Pete was really excited about it, and Pete didn't do anything wrong. Pete was saying like, this is great, this is innovative, this is going to help everybody out. And they even like showed us like at eBay Open like what this is going to look like, and everybody was getting excited about eBay Live, but we still don't have access. And I'm not saying I'm like any kind of anything special, but I have, I've had over 3,000, close to 4,000 items. I've been reselling for on eBay for 12 to 13 years, even longer. And even I don't have access to eBay Live. And so to me, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure why eBay is taking their time on this. So this news story is about that eBay Live is they're taking their shopping on tour. Right, so they're doing their live shopping. It says eBay last week released a tour lineup for its live stream shopping series, which will begin June 14th and feature collector-focused experiences. So they're doing their eBay Live, and they're doing it at different locations, but still it's not invited to everybody. So great question here. JD Chalmers says, do they have a criteria or is it by invite? So there is, as far as I know, there is no invite. There is no criteria either. It's just like, hey, if you're a big reseller, if you're an influencer, like you get invited to do it, right? And again, I go back to Craigslist Hunter. He had a meeting with eBay, and I haven't not seen anything. Maybe he has, but I haven't seen it happen. I've only seen it with like sneakers or like trading cards or vintage toys, but I've not seen eBay Live being done by just regular resellers, or even resellers that have like thousands of people that follow them on YouTube or Instagram. But it's interesting. So Retail Drive had this whole article on it, but some of the things that was going on here, it says retailers continue to invest in live shopping experiences despite only half of viewers making purchases through that format, according to a recent report. Data from savings.com found that TikTok Live is the top live shopping platform, followed by Facebook Live and Instagram Live. QVC Group, which operates home shopping channels, QVC and HSN is working to rebrand itself as a live shopping company as live social shopping options have continued to modernize. All right, now what do you see here, Mike? What was missing? What company was missing in all that talk? Can you guess? Anybody in the chat guess? It's an easy one.
Yeah, I can't give it to you because my internet's was like slowing down. You were kind of glitching on me. I know you're good on the live stream, but
okay. No Whatnot. It did not mention Whatnot. Like all these companies, TikTok Live, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, QVC. So Whatnot must have grabbed the market share, but I thought Whatnot was a lot larger. So I kind of find it interesting that, whatever the study was, didn't see it. So it is interesting. Okay, somebody, let's see, Lisa Freeman, thanks for speaking in the chat, says, I think they're not doing it because they don't know how to police sellers. And that might be true. Mike, you've experienced the Wild West of Whatnot. Can you share with us some of your stories of the Wild West of Whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, Whatnot's I use that term Wild West because that's really what it is. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways, it's almost like gambling and gaming. I think if you're a big influencer, I mean, you don't even have to be like Taylor Swift style, like famous, but like if you're even not a reseller, like you're just like a famous influencer, people will watch you sell stuff and they'll want to buy just because it's, somebody that they follow and they want to feel like they're connected to you. And then also, again, for resellers, you got a big following, like same thing. Some people will buy for that. But I just don't see a lot of people wanting to sit and watch just random shows unless they get into the weird stuff that's on Whatnot. Like there's things where it's like, okay, like I'm going to open a pack of cards, and then if the first card is this color, then I'm going to move this block up one, and people like are buying. And then like if this one gets first, and whoever bought on that one gets these things, it's like just random games, a lot of them. And I feel like it's a way of having almost like a legalized gambling that's not technically gambling. I don't know. So it's just people come up with I don't understand half of the things that I've seen, and that was a few years ago, so maybe it's changed since then. But it's just like some of the most bizarre like competitions that would happen, and people are buying things, buying packs of cards to open or buying stuff, and then based off of what comes up, somebody might get that or another thing. And I never quite understood. I guess if you're like, that's just, you need a way to do a little bit of gambling. I know for some people it's the connection. Like I used to listen to a Netrunner podcast. I loved playing the game Netrunner years ago before it kind of went under. And the guys on the podcast would occasionally do, like, people would send in money for like what they would call crack a pack, and like they would open up the pack live on the podcast and say what was in it, and then they'd send that pack to that person. And so some people would do that just because it's like, hey, I want to hear on the podcast like my pack get opened, and then those cards get sent to me. Maybe it's a good pull. So some people will buy things for that reason, but it's just, I don't know. I've never quite understood a lot of the craziness that happens on Whatnot, but I think that's probably what's kind of held it going. Because I mean, we've done some sales. I know some people do sales, but it just seems like, I don't know, if I'm trying to buy, like, hey, I want to buy a pair of pants, or I want to buy a shirt, I want to get a used one, I could sit and watch a reseller on Whatnot for hours before my size and the style or something I'm interested shows up. So I don't know. I guess I don't understand the draw of it unless you're doing things like the collectible crack a pack. Like, what are you going to get live on air? Other people watch it, and like everybody gets to share in the excitement of, oh, a Charizard just got pulled and that's my pack. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's two things at play here, right? The one is, yes, there is that, how do you protect sellers? How do you protect buyers, right? And eBay obviously wants to take care of that, but eBay's been doing this for so long. You would have thought they would have figured that out by now, right? And the other component is, you're right. There is that component of like, people go to eBay, and they go to eBay because they know exactly what they want. They don't want to sit through a live, right? The only reason I'm saying that live is still a thing is I seen it be successful. Like we talked with Wayne, K-Way Shop. By the way, if you're listening to Wayne, I'm sorry. I was supposed to send them some reselling videos from the edit for me, and I never did it. I just remembered. So we'll take care of that eventually here soon. But like, he's done really well, right? And he has a following, and he has people that buy from him. But I think the other component is, who gets behind it. And I bring up Gary Vee because Gary Vee is notorious for saying that something's the future. But what he does is he puts these pieces together for people to go like, you know what, you're right. And then people buy into it. He did it with NFTs, talking about how good NFTs are. And everybody jumped on the NFT bandwagon.
Well, what it is it's mimetic theory, right? Like if you're familiar,
explain,
with
please.
Rene Girard is I think a French philosopher. Anyways, he had this theory called mimetic theory, and it's like all people do things, like everything that we do, we're mimicking other people. Like, I mean, think about it. Like it's always been that way with stuff. Like when you're in school, it's like there's a certain brand of shoe that's the cool shoe, or there's a certain backpack, or there's a certain headphone, like whatever it is, and it's like everybody else has that one, and I need that one. And if you have one that's a different one, it's like the wrong brand. Even if its quality is just as good, you're not on the in crowd. And so that's like a very like small microcosm of what mimetic theory is. But mimetic theory essentially says like everything we do is kind of being passed down by other people. And so other people have to kind of approve it and say like, this is like the thing, like this is the way, the direction we're going to go. And then because that's being played out by like people, the highest people, whether it's like Peter Thiel, like, with his, PayPal Mafia and that whole group kind of pushing things through the tech or pushing things through social media, you can kind of see like a lot of that stuff kind of gets astroturfed into like, this is going to be what's popular. And I think that's what Gary Vee is good at. And I don't know if he's the one originating it or if somebody like knows that, hey, he's a big player in this, because all he has to do is get on 10 podcasts talking about this thing. Hey, Facebook is going to be the future, or this thing is going to be the future. So then everybody starts talking about it. People are hearing it. People start to go into it and they act as if it's true. I mean, like you said, he did that with NFTs. Like, hey, get on NFTs. NFTs are a thing. Everybody's getting on NFTs. And it's like, yeah, if that wasn't being astroturfed and like kind of being fake propped up from the bottom, that may have never happened. So it's like, but that's everything. Like, everything happens that way. Like, there's like no trend, no style, nothing that is just like organic in the sense of it's not being pushed and people mimicking what other people are doing, right? So and that's why you get like the hipsters of like, oh, I was into that whatever before it was cool, I was into this band before it was cool. But because enough people were into it, more people get into it. If nobody was into it, other people wouldn't join, you know what I mean? So it's like people follow crowds, and I think that Gary Vee is good with that. And what is it he's pushing now? He's like, I've seen some stuff where he's like really pushing Facebook as like the future, right?
No, his main things right now are AI. Like, he's huge on AI. He believes that
AI,
he believes that people are going to be marrying like AI robots like within a few years. Uh, he really is pushing that, and he's pushing, and everybody is, but he's pushing live shopping. That live shopping is the new thing. Like it's so. What's that going to cause? It's going to cause everybody to be like, oh, Gary Vee said it, and we're going to do it, right? And I don't know. Does he have a stake in whatnot? Does he have a stake in like some company? So just be careful about that. I still think live shopping is great. I've talked about how it's helpful, but you also got to understand, who's communicating that message. Hey, just want to address Alice here. Alice in Silverland said, I'm proud of you guys for pushing through on your podcast through so many life changes. It means a lot to us that are invisible. And, listen, there's no one that's invisible. There's just people that are more dedicated to being resellers and putting a podcast together or doing a YouTube. Because I got to tell you, the people that are being celebrated are that I love celebrating are those resellers that are behind the scenes just killing it, right? And they're not posting on social media, they're not posting on YouTube. And I would venture to say there are many more doing that. I would say most YouTubers that you're watching now, if they have a huge following, except for like people like Craigslist Hunter and so on, like they're making their money on YouTube. They're not making their money on reselling. So be aware that Zeke says they are already marrying AI robots. You know what? I would not be surprised. Anyways, AI. Anyways, we should. You know what, Mike? We need another. Maybe that's our next theme episode about AI and reselling. We need to bring that back. One of the things and
reselling AI episode for sure. We should also just have a random life podcast too, like a separate, like pure hustle life, and it's like just like maybe on the Discord we'd post it, and it has nothing to do with reselling, but it's just like fun stuff that we could talk about, because I feel like we have ton of random stuff.
Well, there are some out there that are awesome resellers that are right now like selling AI software to list items, and they're doing it before eBay. It's actually probably better than what eBay is putting out there. So be aware that like eBay is, I don't know, eBay is doing a lot of good things, but I feel like eBay is just a little bit behind on things. Hey, before we move on, we got to the end, but I want to make sure if you have not been following us on social media, we are Pure Hustle Podcast on all platforms, except we are Pure Hustle Cast on X. And by the way, here Zeke brought it up. Yeah, has anyone used Tech and Sports' new eBay lister? Tech, you don't owe us any money, but I've seen it, and people have showed it to me, and you got a good product, and appreciate you doing what you do for the resellers out there. Also, if you have not yet, followed us on YouTube, make sure to follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and hit that bell notification. If you ever want to get a hold of us, share with us a Bolo, share with us a hustle of the week. You can always email us at purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That's purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. And as always, grateful for all of you that leave us reviews on iTunes. It's always beneficial to us. And so if you can go on over, give us that 5 stars. It is the reason that we are the #1 eBay reselling podcast out there, with also the most reviews and good reviews because of all you guys. So thank you to all of you for listening. All right, we're going to move on now to our Bolos. And I love how everybody's talking about AI in the chat right now. It kind of has me dying. Like somebody commented, humans will always be the best species. Keep it up, everyone. Work hard in your own way. Listen, we're good. We're good. I'm not too stressed about AI. But I want to encourage people, like, start thinking about how you can use AI in your reselling. So I think our next theme episode, we'll probably chat about this a little bit. So we'll be ready for that one. Mike, are you ready to play that Bolo sound? Get some Bolos here real quick.
Yeah, let's see if I can get it to go here.
Bolo, 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 Bolo.
What's your Bolo? So in case you're wondering what a Bolo is, it is an item that you should be on the lookout for because it's worth it to you.
All right. And then I just want to acknowledge real quick before I get my Bolo. Thank you, Lisa Freeman, for mentioning my audio is significantly quieter than Orlando's. The part of that is intentional. I had turned.
And Mike has gone completely quiet while he talks. But yeah, Mike was doing that because he had kids yelling in the background. So I'm going to move on forward. I'm going to talk about my Bolo. And I'm recycling a Bolo from like episode 2 or 3. My Bolo, this should be no surprise. If you're new, you're listening, you're like, Orlando, you just mentioned this. And maybe I mentioned this last year, but I will tell you, buckles. buckles, belt buckles. Okay. And the reason I say that is I myself source tons of buckles. For years, I sourced buckles. I haven't sourced many, but I still sell buckles every week. Every week. Sometimes they sell for $10. Sometimes they sell for 50. Sometimes they sell for a lot more. But buckles are definitely worth it. And if you can get a good deal, a lot of the sourcing I did during the era that we weren't able to leave our homes was I sourced buckles on eBay. So if I know I'm going to kind of flood the market maybe here, but you can't, like, people, because buckles are particular to that person, right? So be aware of that, like, just because there's a lot of buckles, maybe people are looking for certain buckles. Sometimes you find buckles that are like safety award from a company. Sometimes you have buckles that are about the NFL and people are looking for that. Sometimes buckles are for rodeos. And so I'm really a big fan of buckles. Buckles to me, it's not like they do very well, but here's the thing: you can get them for a good price. You end up, when you got to ship them, it's pretty easy to ship. You just got to bubble wrap and throw it in a poly mailer. And in storage, like, I got to tell you, I have dropped boxes of buckles so many times, but it didn't matter because they're still good, right? Because they're used buckles. So I always put in my description, I always put, has cosmetic wear throughout. Please see pictures. So, all right, Mike, what's your Bolo?
All right. So I'm not 100% sure on this one.
Oh, no.
Switch 2 came out, right? So
Yeah.
obviously Switch 2 is not the Bolo,
Which was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. I don't know. I wouldn't spend that kind of money on something like that, but for those who are gamers, I get it.
I was there at midnight and we picked it up.
I believe it. But here's what I noticed. Like my middle son, he's about to turn 4. He wants a Switch, and there's a couple of like kid games. Plus, I like when my kids play Minecraft. Like I think it's creative and good for them. But I don't want to spend the money on a Switch 2 for sure. But even the Switch 1s, they haven't gone down in price in the stores, but they've starting to go down a little bit, like on the secondhand market. Like you can get like a used Switch Lite for under $100 now on eBay. And that got me thinking, well, a lot of people are upgrading to Switch 2, right? Like my brother just bought a Switch 2. And he's got the full size, what OED or whatever it is, Switch. He's got the big one. And it's like, well, what are you going to do with that? And it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm probably take it to GameStop. And that's what I think a lot of people do is they take their old stuff after they haven't used it for a while. They take it to GameStop and they get some store credit for it. So for me, I'm thinking you're probably going to see a lot of people in your local area who have Switch 1s. They bought a Switch 2 and they're going to be probably pawning them off for super cheap. So might be a good time you're probably not going to see them at garage sales anytime soon, but it might be a good time to maybe put out some like Facebook Marketplace ads. I mean, you can't really do it the same way on Facebook Marketplace, but like Craigslist ads, where you're essentially saying, hey, I'll buy your old one for more than GameStop will. And then you could sell it on eBay and make more. So yeah, I think now might be a good time to snatch up as many the original Switch as you can. Because people are wanting to buy the Switch 2 or have already bought the Switch 2, and they don't necessarily need the Switch 1. So they still sell for pretty decent money on eBay, but the price is going down because I think there's a flood of them in the market. So if you can soak up a bunch of those before they hit GameStop and start selling them there, I think you'll be in a pretty good place. I don't know. That's just a thought. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think now might be a good time to strike.
There you go. There you go. So, hey, and I would say physical games are also a good thing because right now everything is going DLC, download content, and in a few years people are going to want the cartridges and people are going to want, the games and all that stuff. So be aware of that. All right, Mike, what are you looking forward to here?
I'm looking forward to having Starlink on my house and not having my internet drop out every 2 seconds. That's what I'm looking forward to. What about you? I mean, that even helps with reselling, when you're trying to like resell and you're trying to do eBay listings and all of a sudden your internet cuts out and you got to reload the page and sometimes you lose some. Yeah. No, thank you.
No, I believe it. I'm looking forward. I'm going to be traveling, but I'm going to be sourcing while traveling. So make sure to follow us on Instagram. I will post a story when I go sourcing because last time I sourced at this one place, I ended up scoring. It was funny because remember that Blaze cartoon? Did your kids watch the Blaze trucks and all that on Netflix? Mm-hmm. Okay, but that... like people like those. So I remember picking up a bunch of those and I thought it was kind of silly when I picked them up. I paid like $50 and I got like, 50 of them, but I made hundreds of dollars on that. I picked up some baseball bats when I was sourcing. I mean, this was while I was traveling. And I'm like, I can't wait. Like I love, especially when I'm in the Midwest at garage sales, because it's just different. So I'm looking forward to doing that sourcing. I'm looking forward to ramping up my eBay. My son's been home from college and he's been taking a lot of pictures. And so I got like I got tons of items I can list like on the road, and so that's gonna be awesome. And so yeah, just looking forward to that, and just looking forward to continue on this eBay journey with everybody. Hey, thank you everybody for listening to the podcast despite all the technical difficulties. You stuck with us. Thanks, chat, for your comments. Thanks for being supportive. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
Be relevant,
and be reselling late.
Peace.
Sun's out, it's a brand new day. Keep our eyes on the prize, we're on our way. Hitting garage sales before the crowd, searching for treasures, making us proud. Through the aisles of thrift stores we roam, finding pieces of history, bringing them home. From old books to watches, we see their worth, turning dust into gold for all it's worth. With a